All right, hey, what's up, guys? Coach Mac, Play Fast Football. All right, today I'm going to do a video on experimenting or trying different fronts. I'm going to talk about where a lot of the fronts came from in theory or back, years back when the game was a little bit different. And I'm going to take a look at why we want to look at some different fronts with the way the game's being played now. Make sure you check out some of our sponsors. Dome Hats, headwear sponsor for Play Fast Football, and I use them with the school that I'm currently working at. It is completely customizable. They have an online hat builder. You can design the hat any way you want to. You can change the style, colors of each panel, change the stitching, snapback, Velcro, fit it, completely up to you. Every hat has a story. Make sure you let Dome help you tell your hat story. Baker Sporting Goods, the shirts that I use, my coach's shirts, spirit packs of football, our uniforms are distributed by them. Any online stores we do for fans or coaches or teachers or players, anything you want to put on an online store, we use Baker Sporting Goods. Make sure you check them out. Just Play Football, more powerful way to present your information. All right, it's more than just a playbook. You have the ability to quiz your players on your playbook and game plans, and now you can get a full, you can get more knowledge about the understanding they have or the knowledge they have within your playbook and your game plans that are coming up. It's the best play drawing tool on the market. I use it when I speak at clinics or when I do webinars for my Patreon site. So make sure you check out Just Play Game Strat sideline replay system that we use. You're looking for a highly reliable, highly affordable sideline replay system. Make sure you check out Game Strat, customer friendly. We've had zero technological issues. We've had only user issues on our end. DifferenceUSA, the ultimate striking machine. Get thousands of reps without needing a partner. Elbows in, thumbs up. Work on how to strike, how to explode, what you need to do with your hips. You can do all different drills with a lot of different positions on the DifferenceUSA striking machine, and it comes with different coil tension, so as the kids get better, stronger, bigger, older, you can change the tension of the coil to lev the pad in. HighandTight ball security training aid we use. It's got sensors inside of each panel. You have to hold the ball in the correct position. You have to get it high enough, elbow, wrist above the elbow. Got to have all the points of pressure correct so that you understand where the football needs to be held for proper ball security. When you do it right, you'll hear a beep, so you get that auditory learning. You hear the beat, you know it's right, then you use the muscle memory to instill in yourself that's what the feel is for where the ball is, high and tight and properly secured. Ball security is job security, so make sure you check out HighandTight. And then Stand Perfect, a training aid we just started using for stances and different things. I'm going to use it today in our 7-on-7 stuff for one of the drills that we're going to do that involves some scout players. So I'm going to line the receivers up exactly where I want them, and then I'm also going to put them down in the stance I want the receivers to play in. So now when they come out, they know the exact split that they need to be in, but at the same time, they also know how to get in the stance and what stance we want. So there is no guessing. We've got a lot of new players, a lot of younger kids that are coming out at this time of year. So Stand Perfect is a perfect aid, training aid to help you save time teaching stances. So originally, back in the day when football was played a little bit different, right now I've got it drawn up a 21 personnel, I set, quarterback under center. You hear the term 8-man fronts a lot, all right? You still hear the term, it's still out there. You hear 8-man front. And basically what an 8-man front meant was trying to play in a way, there's 8 gaps if you're talking about each side of the center, all right, with a tight end. There technically are 8 gaps. There's an A gap between the guard and the center. There's a B gap between the guard and tackle. There's a C gap between the tackle and the tight end. There's a D gap extended from the tight end. They are on each side. So the right side and the left side both have A, B, C, D gaps. Right side, left, strong, weak, however you want to look at it. So 8-man football, 8-man front football was a way to take care of 8 gaps with each individual player. So technically on paper, all right, although with gap exchange stuff and some different schemes, it doesn't always work this way, but technically on paper, every player had a gap. So right now I've got drawn up the old-fashioned over front. All right, so to the tight end side, I've got a 3 technique. All right, and then right now I got a guy drawn up inside eye on the tight end, what I would call a 7 technique. Some people call it, different things. I call it a 7. I keep my odd numbers as shades. So he's inside eye to tight end. And then I've got a weak side safety drop down with a will linebacker playing the B gap. So that weak side safety's out there, and he's the 4th player, edge player to the weak side. Even though they quote-unquote don't have a tight end to that side, with a fullback they could possibly create another gap. All right, so the weak safety's down there. Technically the D gap player. The end in the 5 technique is the C gap player. The will linebacker in the 30 technique, all right, is the B gap player, and then the 2-eye or the shade, however you play it on the weak side, is the A gap player. On the strong side, the Mike is the A-gap player, the 3 technique is the B-gap player, the 7 technique is the C-gap player, and then the nickel Sam, whatever you call him or whatever you use in your defense, he's the D-gap player. We could be playing quarter, half, we could be playing 3 deep. Bottom line is it's an 8-man front because 8 guys were responsible for those 8 gaps up front. All right, if you drew it up out of an under front, you can do the same thing out of an under front, and on this strong side, I can put an A shade on the center, I can put a 5 technique on the tackle, I can put that nickel or Sam and a 9 on the tight end, and now I could use reduction to the weak side, and I could put, all right, the tackle and an outside backer, whatever you want to call, in that 3-4 personnel, that backer, all right, and then with a Mike and a Will, and now what you've got is you've got 8-man front football. To the weak side now, you've got that weak safety in the D-gap, you've got that outside linebacker and a 5 technique playing the C-gap. You've got a 3 technique B-gap player now, which means the Will linebacker is the A-gap player. To the front side, you now have a shaded nose or a G technique, however you want to play the front, as the A-gap player. The Mike is the B-gap player. The 5 technique is the C-gap player. And now that Sam Nickel becomes the 9 technique D-gap player. Still an 8-man front, even though you've gone from an over front to an under front. You've gone from an even front to an odd front. It's still 8-man front football. If you looked at 3-3 stack teams, all right, you could take your 3-3 stack teams and you could play the same front, which is essentially an 8-man front football, okay? And now you've still got the nickel or the Sam as the strong side D-gap player. You've still got the weak safety as the weak side D-gap player. Now, depending on how you teach it or how much movement you use up front, you've got an end and a stack backer to take care of the B and the C gap. You've got a nose and the Mike to take care of the 2 A gaps. You've got an end and a stack backer to take care of the weak side B and the C gap. You've got 8 players to take care of 8 gaps. All right, so there's 3 different fronts, all 8-man fronts, an over front, an under front, a 3-3 stack front. They're all versions, all right, of 8-man fronts. Well, what started happening when the game started changing is teams started going a little bit more spread out. And then within the rules, you started seeing more spread out sets, and you started seeing more shotgun quarterback, which means the quarterback was now a runner. You started seeing more read option games, okay? So in today's game with the RPOs, where the offense has the ability to show a run play, block a run play, linemen can go 3 yards downfield in high school and college, and as long as the ball is thrown with them no further than 3 yards downfield, it is a legal play. So now you're getting these run-pass option plays. So what defenses are choosing to do now, I'll draw it like the tight front. Right? So in the tight front, you've got the nose, you've got 2 inside, 4 eyes on the tackles. Okay? If I were to draw it up as a 3-high safety Iowa State type look that we've talked about before, you leave just 1 linebacker in the middle. Now you have the ability to apex 2 linebackers, whoever they may be. All right, you have the ability to apex them as C-gap players. Now they can hold the RPO windows longer. They can get out a little bit wider towards the number 2 receiver. But the ball is now being sent to them in the C-gap. You're playing lighter boxes, and then behind it, if you're playing, like a traditional 2-high structure, with the addition of the middle safety, who is really acting as a quasi-linebacker. He's involved in the run fits. He's a guy who would have 3 vertical in split field or middle of the field open coverages. So you're playing 7 guys in the box now, or 7 guys closer to the box now, however you want to look or however you want to categorize in the box. You've got 7 guys that are tied to the run fit because now they've removed, you can still play 8-man fronts, don't get me wrong. A lot of teams still do it, and a lot of teams play Ripley's match, which is a version of 8-man fronts, 6-man box, 8-man front. But what a lot of teams are doing now from the split field safety or the 2-high safety looks is they're playing these lighter boxes. They're taking the interior gaps away. So now without the tight end and the fullback there versus a one-back team, we're really only worried about A, B, C gap on each side. And then we have to figure out if the quarterback is a runner, are they using the tailback as an extra body to create another gap? So we're going to have to try and come up with an extra guy. But now we're trying to cover these sets where the receivers are giving us 2 wide to each side, 2 removed to each side, RPOs, bubbles, quick game, a lot of those things that are going on. Okay, so we got to be able to handle that, and we got to be able to handle runs. So what started happening was the creation of that tight front which is quasi-bare front, old school terminology, really, in a way. Instead of threes, you're playing 4 eyes, and you're playing a mic, so you're only playing 4 guys inside the tackles, which is, you know, so directly opposite of how the game used to be played. Everybody used to be inside the box, and you used to get as many guys inside the box as possible, and the offense was trying to get helmets in the box, and you were trying to add helmets in the box. Well, now on defense, we're trying to take helmets out of the box because we're trying to cover all the spread sets. So you get this tight front, like a version of this tight front here, okay, and you've got the A gap's taken care of with the nose and the mic, and then the B gap's taken care of with the 4 eyes, and then the walkout apex guys, you want the ball sent to them in the C gap, you want them walked out so they can be in the RPO windows a little bit longer, and then the Iowa States of the world and Tulsa, a lot of other teams that are doing it now, they're playing that third safety as another linebacker. It's like watching teams play the older stack backer version of against option teams, where they would play a linebacker at 3 or 4 and another linebacker stacked behind him at 7 or whatever the depths were when they were playing option teams. It's a very similar theory to that. That middle safety is almost like another backer. He's involved in a lot of the run fits. He's got 3 vertical and pass coverage. He becomes a linebacker in most pass coverages. So the tight front was a way to combat that. So what we're going to try and do, because we are a 4-down team, is I'm going to try and see now, and again, this is when you're trying things and experimenting, I want to look at within our 4-down fronts, our over fronts, can we change some of the things we do to get into some fronts that aren't as traditional to do things similar to the way these odd teams are doing it. So like for us, could we experiment versus a 2x2 set? Could we experiment with a 4 eye on one side and a 2 or a shade, so the A and the B gap are closed? On the other side, all right, on the other side, we could possibly play a shade or a 2 or a 2 eye, whatever you want to call it, and then maybe we have an end that's more of a 2 gap player. So we're essentially trying to play the inside 2 gaps the same way the odd teams did. Then we can remove our mic and our will to handle the RPO game a little bit, all right? And then for us, okay, for us, we can play the same split field coverages we've always played. The only addition, all right, the only addition for us is you kind of take the nickel or the Sam out of the game and you'd incorporate that middle safety in a 3-high safety look. But now we're taking that even over front and we're bastardizing it a little bit and we're adjusting it to take away the interior gaps. All right, if I wanted to do it from my normal structure, all right, then maybe what I would do is only try and leave 1 gap open on the inside. So if I wanted to do it from my normal split field safety stuff, all right, with my nickel, then maybe I only leave 1 gap open for the mic so that everybody else can be removed where they want it to, okay? And maybe the mic only has 1 gap to take care of, so maybe I can play a 3 and a 5 on a side so that the mic in the box only has an A gap to take care of. And now, to the side that I've got the 2-eye and the 4, I've got an overhang sitting right there. And then I've got an overhang sitting on the side with the 3 and a 5. So on the interior, okay, all I have is the A gap open, so all I need in the box is the mic. I don't have to worry about anybody falling into open gaps because the open gaps are now taken care of. So the will and the overhang don't have to worry about folding in. So when we're talking about RPO schemes, all right, and we're looking at RPO schemes, we're looking at making the ball go outside, give the mic 1 interior gap to worry about, make the ball go outside so that the overhang guys can hang in the RPO window a little bit longer. All right, so the experiment or the try or the, you know, however you want to look at it would be kind of bastardizing the front. And instead of playing with a 3 and a 5 and a 1 and a 5, maybe on one side we play with a 2 and a 4. Okay, now that gives us a little bit of a soft edge. Maybe that's the side, maybe that's to the boundary. That gives us a little bit of an issue with the 4-eye having to be a contained player if he gets pass sets. So everything you do is going to create a few issues, but for us, where I'm at, the school I'm at, the schools that I play, the football that we've been playing the last couple of years, we're in a situation where in the last 5 years we've only made the playoffs 1 time, and in that year it was this past season where the state had COVID-19 rules, and we made the playoffs because everybody that stayed in the state system made the playoffs. So technically we haven't really qualified for the playoffs, so we're looking at changing a lot of the things we do, trying and experimenting new things, because in my opinion as a football coach, if you're doing the same things over and over and you're not getting the results you want, that's the definition of insanity. So whether it's to the boundary of the field, not really sure yet, but instead of playing the traditional 1-5, 3-5, maybe we play 2-4, and then on another side we play 1-5 with possibly a 2-gap defensive end, all right? Or, you know, we play 3-5 on one side with 2-4 on the other side and only leave the A-gap open for the mic. Okay, same thing, like similar if we were seeing 3x1 sets, right? If we were seeing 3x1 sets, depending on what we're seeing, we could get in a situation where to the trip side, okay, we could play the 2 and the 4 to the trip side, because the way we play coverage, our mic is always going to be hipped up anyways. So now when we play what we call our mixed coverage, all right, our mic is going to be hipped up anyways. We want the ball going out to him. I used to tag stunts to the 3 and the 5 to that side to eliminate the A and the B gap back in the day. When 3x1, we'd almost have an auto check. So when we were playing mixed coverage, the mic would either pirate or twist the 3 and the 5 to take away the A and the B gap. What if we just lined up the 3 and the 5 as a 2 and a 4, take away the A and the B gap to the front side? If we play the 3 and the 5 backside, now the Willie that gets stacked almost to the center because we've essentially pushed or pulled the linebackers to the trips. Now he's only got one gap open. He's got the A gap, all right, inside open. That's the only gap that's open. If we leave the weak side safety down as the extra player to bracket on the backside, all right, with the corner, now we've got 2 for 1 or 3 for 2 to the weak side if the back goes that way. Interior runs, we only have the A gap open. So now the Will only has one gap to worry about. All right, in the old days, if we played 3-5, 1-5, all right, the Willie is a primary A-gap player on the front side, but then on the back side, we've got to ask that weak safety to fold in there, and then depending on the types of runs you're seeing, you should have an extra helmet, but there's some things that teams that could do to get an extra helmet on you. If we kick the front side, trip side, 3-5 down to 2-4, and now we make the ball go out to the mic who's hit. Now we only leave one gap open. We can play a 3 and a 5 on the backside and only leave one gap open for the Will linebacker. And now the weak side safety's that D gap, extra help player. He's got nowhere to go. He doesn't have to fold as fast because the B gap's not open. We can sit him longer in that glance RPO window underneath that single receiver. We can choose to do different things in coverage because we don't need the weak safety as much unless we're seeing speed option, weak side quarterback leads, or weak side quarterback stretch, outside zone. We don't need the weak safety as much because there's no open gap on that side anymore. Okay, now, downside to that trip side, that's a short edge. Are you going to get a lot of outside runs where maybe you can't add up the numbers? That's why a lot of the 3 high teams, like Iowa State and them, that middle safety is a guy who equates in the numbers, so they would play more of a 3-2 box, take away a shade here or there versus 3x1 stuff, so they'd have a 5-man box. Well, we still have a 5-man box, and we're taking away 2 inside gaps to the trip side so that the ball goes to the mic. Again, I used to auto-stunt it that way back in the day, so it's the same theory, but what we're looking at is different ways to play things. And really, to be honest with you, the one that I'm looking at the most is different ways to play the 11 or 20 personnel teams that have that tight end type sniffer, and they're running power counter, okay? And we have struggled, so this would be us. 3 and a 5, the 1 or the 2 I and the 5 back there, Mike and the Will in the box, and then coverage-wise, apex there, corner there, free safety playing our palms or 2 read there, and then on the backside we've got the weak safety in the corner. Can they go 3 vertical? Does the sniffer go vertical? Is it a Y off? Is it somebody that is a guy that can be a vertical threat? We might have to attach the backside safety to that. We've done a couple different things to that on that side. But this set right here with teams running heavy doses of power and counter have really given us the last couple of years, or at least last year, a lot of problems. So if we're going to stay 4-2-5 personnel, if we're going to stay as an over front team, what other ways can we line this front up So again, if I put the 2 and the 4 on the front side, I'm creating a short edge. But now I know versus gap scheme teams, I am getting solo one-on-one blocks. All right, they must block the 2 down. They must block the 4 down. They can choose to arc release however they want. But usually on a gap scheme, they're going to block the 2 and the 4 down. All right, which means the wide off fullback is an extra body. I've got the Mike and the apex nickel out there. And now they should never be able to touch the backside linebacker on a pull scheme because there is no more double on a 3 to backside backer. They have a body on the inside gap. We are taking away the ability for them to get to the backside backer. So now they basically have a sniffer and a puller for an apex, Mike, and Will. We're creating a 3-on-2, which obviously in defensive football, that's always what you're trying to do. Okay, but for us, we struggle a bunch with power count versus 20-11 personnel. So to go back out and say we're just going to stay 4-2-5, yes, we need to teach it better. Yes, we need to play it better. Yes, we need our players to be better technically and fundamentally. Yes, they need to be bigger. Yes, they need to be stronger. But to just go out there and say that you're going to play the same way you've been playing is it doesn't make a lot of sense. So you have to have the ability to wrinkle things and change. So I look at how these odd teams are now playing the spread or 20 personnel. I look at the tight front. I look at the adjusted shaded fronts where they're giving you a shade 5 technique, but then they're eagling or reducing down on the backside. All right, in those odd fronts. I look at the way the Iowa States of the world are playing because they've had a lot of success in the Big 12 against teams that have typically recruited better classes. And Iowa State is playing great defense with their odd stuff and their quasi 3-high safety stuff. So you got to look at them and look at what they're doing. But if you don't feel like you can do that at your program or at your level, what you got to do is see if there's a way to morph what you're doing into that. So if I try to stay too high, I need to see, is there a way that I can eliminate some gaps, eat up some down blocks from the power counter teams, so when I'm getting power, all right, understand where the ball is going to get to, understand where I need to send the ball back. So obviously I need the Willie to be involved if we get power front side. He shouldn't be able to get touched because the center's going to block the shade back, the guard's going to block the 2, the tackle's going to block the 4. So the Willie should be able to run over the top. All right, and now maybe the Mike needs to box the guard back to the Will, so maybe the Mike doesn't spill, so the apex will have to box and force the sniffer, all right, and then the Mike will have to go over the top to box and force the puller, and we're trying to get the ball sent back to the Will as our extra free hitter, because when we have the 3 technique there, they're going to double the 3 and try and get to the Will. If our 3 technique isn't a dude, if he doesn't understand how to play doubles, if their team is better than us, it's kind of a waste of our time. So, you know, another way you could do it is with stunts and movement and gaps and things like that and canceling gaps. There's several ways to skin a cat, but my purpose of doing this video is different fronts, how to use different fronts, and how to try different fronts so that you can see if you can get better. So we're going to try and make our over front more of the way the odd teams are playing the tight and some of that stuff so that we can get the ball sent where we want to. We can eat up more down blocks, use those 2s or 4 eyes to create issues for the offense. As always, I appreciate everything you guys do for PlayFast. If you're not a subscriber, click that subscribe button. Turn your notifications on. You know every time I do a video or I go live. Make sure you leave a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Make sure you comment. I try to respond to every comment I see. Did it live on the Relevant app again today, so if you're looking for live audio or you want to follow cool deals, download the Relevant app. It's a free app. As always, you won't play well until you play fast, and I will catch you guys next time.